Hello and welcome to the PublishU podcast, where we explore the real life stories of authors from around the world. My name is Matt Bird, and today I'm talking to Ian Poree from Harpenden in the United Kingdom, who has written a book called Windows and Mirrors. Welcome, Ian.
Thank you, Matt. Great to be with you this morning.
It's great to be with you too. So tell us about the daytime Ian. What is his professional life all about?
The daytime Ian is generally working in some kind of a services organization. I've had the privilege of working both in large private sector companies, but also I was a civil servant for many years, working for His Majesty's government.
I think that's where we first met, wasn't it, Ian?
It certainly was. We met somewhere in Whitehall, and you were networking across those corridors in Whitehall, and I was a civil servant serving in at the time Her Majesty's Prison and Probation Service.
Yeah. I seem to remember we had lots of conversations about the power of networks of networks. Do you remember that?
We certainly did. The two of us might be accused of fundamentally believing that human beings collaborate across networks, and that's how we share and learn together. And I certainly think that that's how we were designed, and we're social creatures, and we learn from each other.
Absolutely. And we also have a passion for a certain country in common, don't we, Ian? You,
Uh,
because I think you were born there, and me, because I love visiting there.
I suspect a few people may have noticed I do have an accent. I was born in Durban, South Africa, so I generally describe myself as a rural African who has had the most amazing life experiences and had the opportunity to live and work around the world. And so, yeah, an African at heart. But my family has European or British heritage. My dad is British, so um, I have a mixed background from around the world. But yeah, go back regularly. Still have family in South Africa.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, we must have a glass of something in SA one day. It'd be great to do that
Look
together.
forward
I
to
mean,
it.
until then, we'll just make do with Central London, I think. What do you think? Do you
It's
reckon?
not a bad substitute, Matt.
No, nobody's going to complain. So, Ian, tell us, when did you first think, I'm going to write a book?
That's a good question. I think, to be honest, it was probably not when did I first think. Two significant people in my life. My wife, we've been married for over 30 years now, was probably the one who first suggested, don't you want to write down some of what you've done and learned? And a mentor of mine, a kind of a father figure, who is a prolific author, had also suggested to me that he thought it was worthwhile having a go. So I did. I had my own attempts, probably two or three times over the past decade or so, Matt, but I didn't get much further than some kind of rough drafts that didn't really seem to take me very far
Yeah.
until one of those cups of coffee you and I were having in central London, where you told me about your writing my book course with PublishU, and that got me back into thinking maybe this is the time to try and do it, and this time with some professional help rather than a DIY job.
And it worked.
It certainly did work, Matt. I have to say I'm so incredibly grateful that the PublishU writing my book course gave me a community of people as well as just your expert advice. So the accountability, but also just the ability to share and reflect and tell stories with the cohort of people
Yeah.
who wrote the book. And your methodology is very effective. Getting a book written in 100 days was something that I probably wouldn't have said was doable. But all of us on our cohort managed to achieve that in the time period. So I'm not saying it was easy. It took a lot of hard work, but it was entirely doable.
Yeah, it was great to see your cohort become a community. I always say on the course, after the first couple of sessions, our course has changed from a course into a community, because people do, even though it's live on Zoom, people do connect, don't they? Have you kept in touch with any of the people from our
Yeah,
cohort?
certainly have. And of course, we all at various stages of getting ready for kind of launches, which is so exciting to see, kind of going along to see each other's. What we originally heard as an idea is now something that's kind of real and happening. And so, yeah, those connections I can see are gonna continue well beyond
Yeah.
writing this course. I often describe myself as a curious learner. And so the opportunity to get to learn with others is something which I really, really appreciated. And yeah, such amazing inspirational stories. It was a really diverse group of people from around the world.
Yeah. And looking back now, your book is now globally published. Anybody in the world can go online and order your book. But looking back now, getting to this point, what was the greatest obstacle you had to overcome, do you think?
I think, like so many people, I'm sure, Matt, the obstacle of believing that kind of my ordinary life is something that would be of interest to other people. My motivation to write was really just to share some of the life lessons that I have learned. I'm so grateful to have had those opportunities. And I suppose share them with the people close to me, and kind of just pass on some of that. But just that kind of belief that it is we all have something about ourselves, something unique about how we're made, that is worth sharing. So the combination of is this something that anyone would ever be vaguely interested in, getting over that self belief. But I guess the second point was just the practical framework of moving out of concept and idea into just a very practical plan. Um, it almost feels like there's nothing about the course and the methodology that is very complex. It's just a simple, practical, realistic plan, and then obviously the hard work getting it done week after week over the 100 days. But the 100 days actually went remarkably quickly. So
Yeah.
it has been a really positive experience.
Yeah. And now you've got the book, Windows and Mirrors. Now I'm intrigued by the title. Can give those of us the people that are listening to this podcast here, or watching this YouTube video, give them a sense about what the heart of the book is about.
I think right at the heart of the book, Matt, probably reflects that ethos of being a curious learner.
Mm.
I have spent a lifetime, or many decades, thinking carefully about things like how do we learn. I've had the privilege to be in leadership roles over many years, and so lessons about leadership and how to lead yourself and how to lead others. And then I've thought deeply about what are some of the most important lessons that we've learned. So I suppose what I would say is that it's a book written from the perspective of a curious, humble learner, sharing lessons that I've learned, and lessons about how learning takes place,
Mm.
And from ordinary life lessons through to using kind of ancient wisdom that has been the source of some of the lessons that I've learned. And hopefully that gives other people questions they ask themselves, an opportunity to think about and learn some of that. I am a strong believer that none of us is as smart as all of us.
Mm.
And so I love the idea of learning from other people. And as you know, Matt, part of the collaboration in this book, my now adult children, all in their late 20s, a daughter and a son and a son-in-law, got intrigued by the questions I was asking. So in the book, you will actually find not just lessons from a 50-something-year-old. The 20-something-year-olds have included lessons at the end of each chapter. And that was such a privilege for me to get to do that together with
Yeah.
my adult children. And
So
they have real insight.
did you start off with the idea to do that, or did it emerge as they showed interest in you writing a book?
It emerged when I was explaining to them this is what I was thinking about as kind of what I might write about. And so I suppose it was right at the beginning when the idea of the book was taking shape, that I curiously asked them the question, do you think you guys have got some lessons you may share with us? And yeah, all three of them agreed to do it. So I was incredibly grateful that they did. And so you will get a flavor of that reading the book. You'll see the contrast between uh, their perspectives and lessons so far. And they're honest about where their lessons have taken them so far. And I've had a few more years of lessons to record, so there's a few more words from me.
Wonderful. And Ian, would you let us into one of the learnings? You're going to give us a little taster from Windows and Mirrors.
Maybe I can tell a story, Matt, about a very powerful learning experience for me. I had the privilege a number of years ago to be invited to work for, as I said earlier, Her Majesty's Prison and Probation Service. And one of the things that I think about is a window is a metaphor for being able to see through and see the possibilities and see what lies before us. And so I joined the prison service and I looked through the window of life into prison, visiting people in prisons and understanding the prison system. And I suppose, if I'm honest, like so many people, I had a stereotypical view of the women and men who are in prison, certainly in England and Wales. What I found very quickly is that the mirror of reality reflected back to me so many things that I need to think about and learn about my own life. So I was looking into a system with the idea that I understand and I know, but what happens is reality shines back to you like a mirror does. And I had to answer questions like, um, but for the grace of God, I could have been in the same circumstance as the men and women that I was meeting and spending time with. And so it caused me to take a more humble stance and to take the time to actually listen and learn from those individuals. And not just the people who were in prison through their sentences, the men and women who work in the prison system genuinely are real. I regard them as kind of heroes, as public servants. They do such important work every day on all of our behalf. So yeah, that was an example, Matt, of lessons about both how the window and the mirror is both something to look through and something to reflect back on us, the reality of life that we can all
Mm,
learn from.
mm. I like that. Something to look through and something to reflect back on. Well, I'm really looking forward to more of those life lessons, Ian, in reading your book. So, what is your hope for people who read Windows and Mirrors, Ian? What is it? Yeah, Windows and Mirrors. What is it that you hope people? In what way do you think you hope they'll be impacted?
Yeah, I hope, Matt, that anyone who is curious about learning would get an opportunity that somewhere in the book they will see or read about something which piques their curiosity and possibly causes them to ask a few more questions about their own lessons in life. I hope it serves as a way of giving curious learners some questions to ask themselves. And as I have found in life, is when you find a nugget of insight or truth, is to then take the time to think about, can I actually put this into practice? Can I
Yeah.
put this wisdom into practice in my day-to-day life? And I think if we all do that, it gives us the opportunity to become the kind of people we want to become, maybe a little kinder and a little more humble.
Wow. Thank you, Ian. And thank you all for listening to the PublishU podcast featuring the real life stories of authors from around the world. If you're interested in becoming an author like Ian, then please do visit our website, www.publishu, the letter u.com, publishu.com. And if you enjoyed this broadcast, make sure that you subscribe for more. Thank you for joining us, and goodbye for now.